What's up, everyone? Hey,
What's going on?
going live, beats and bourbon. Eric and I were just talking about how things have been so busy lately. It's crazy how time flies, my friend. How are
Time
you?
flies. I'm good, man. I'm doing all right. Time is flying, and um, in a good way. Though I was in LA last week. I actually drove from Tucson to LA. So it's like an 8-hour drive, um, and it was like a drive. We did our very first control camp in-person event. So it was drive. I drove there the day of the event, so spent most of the day on the
Wow.
road.
Yeah, that's
Got
a long day.
did the event till like 2 in the morning. I had an Airbnb. I crashed in and then got up in the morning and drove back to Tucson. It was like
Man.
it was a whirlwind. I'm still recuperating. I literally don't feel like I caught up on my sleep yet. Like we didn't do control camp last night last night because I was just like I need some rest. I need to relax. So I'm kind of trying to decompress, but I have a ton of stuff that I didn't do last week while prepping for the event that I'm catching up on. So I don't know.
Did you end up taking that scenic route that I told you about from
I
San
have
Diego?
no,
Oh,
haven't
okay.
done that yet.
Oh,
I
good.
have
No,
not
no, I
done
was
that
just
yet.
like, well, if you were going fast, Waze probably told you it was faster to take the 10 across, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we took the 10 across, but yours, that's the what is it? Is it the 5 that
It's the
goes
8.
to
I think
the
it's
8?
Yep, the 8 goes across lower Arizona
Okay.
into San Diego.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's probably an awesome drive.
There's some cool, some of it's just desert, but then there's a part of it where it kind of breaks out into you almost feel like you're on another planet, like weird rock
Mm.
formations, just it's hard to describe, but very cool, different geology, different environment, different. I wasn't looking for climate type, I guess.
Mm.
Feels like it's a different type of desert than some parts of the desert. Like you're straight like up in the Sonoran Desert right now, right?
Yes. Yep.
And it's definitely got a little bit different flavor than that.
Oh, I love it. And I love landscapes, and I love um, different mountain structures and formations. So I think I would love that drive. And I love San Diego, and I haven't been there in years, so that would be cool.
You're
Plus,
in like
I'm like,
the saguaro paradise right now.
oh my god, they're everywhere. Yeah, and they're just like some of them are like some of those cacti are like 20, 30 feet tall. They're like monstrous.
Oh, they're huge. Yeah. And have you experienced a monsoon storm yet?
We've had some. I mean, I don't know how intense they are compared to others. I mean, it hasn't been anything too crazy. Other there have been some flood watches. Actually, when I drove back from LA, I drove through a number of like I got the alerts on my phone. Flood watch, stay off the roads.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and I was on the road, but it was so. But it's so far it hasn't been anything crazy. I mean, it's just been it's just been rain and maybe some thunder, but it hasn't been anything like ridiculous.
Sure. Well, have you smelled like that kind of musky smell that I was telling you about before it
N-
starts to rain out there?
No, not yet. No,
Hmm.
but I'm probably because I'm
You'll
always
know.
locked in the house and inside all the time anyway.
You'll know when it happens. There's a plant called creosote out there that secretes like
Mm.
some kind of, I don't know what it is, but it knows when it's about to rain.
Oh
Because
wow.
you go outside and you kind of smell this it's an earthy, kind of musky kind of smell. And it smells good, but it's definitely distinct. And you're like, what is this? Like, it's about to rain. It's the about to rain smell is what it
The about to rain smell.
is.
Very cool. Nah.
Uh,
Do you miss this area?
Hey,
hey, what's up? What's up,
not
John?
much. What's up?
Good to see you, man. We're just talking about Arizona right now.
Oh, okay.
What up, Jean?
Not much, man. How you been?
Been good. Good to see you.
You too, man. I was trying to get it to go for sure, like to do it on my laptop, but I'm on my phone, and I don't have I have Chrome downloaded, but for some reason it wouldn't do it the way it's supposed to. So that's what's taking me so long.
Hey, those now that I'm looking behind you, Jean, your sound the red sound absorbers you have,
Yeah.
I can't my mind's locked, but
Like the panels, yeah.
is it Are they on a? Is it on a stand? Not on the walls. One of them on a stand?
No, so no, they're on the wall. So what I did is,
Oh, it's on the wall. Okay.
yeah. So I took like a hook, like a probably about a good 4-inch hook, screwed it into the studs, and had it off the wall about an inch because they tell you in school and everything else that you want your panels at least like an inch off the wall for maximum absorption. So when it goes in, there's still space between there and the wall. So mine are hanging by studs, I guess if you will, about an inch off the wall.
How dope.
Interesting. There's probably room for sound to get in there and then not be able to get out too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the theories there. Kind of literally traps it, huh?
Yep, pretty much. I need to do some bass traps, but I'm just too lazy. To be honest.
I mean, you've got that big what is it like I'm trying to look for the word, the beanbag chair in there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
the
if
beanbag
that
definitely
really
works as a bass trap for sure.
It does, right? Maybe it's not hefty enough. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man. Well, yeah, so we're just Eric was telling me, by the way, I didn't realize this, but this hat apparently, and it totally does look like the Splice logo.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But it's not. It's like an NFT. It's some kind of collectible card game NFT called Parallel, and it just so happens that their logo is very similar.
I actually dig it. I think it's cool.
Pretty interesting.
Very.
Anyways, yeah, I geek out on hats a lot.
So you two were hanging out today. What were y'all doing?
We were just shooting shop, talking music. Oh yeah, I can see your hat now. I can't hear you now, Jean. Some technical difficulties. It's all
he
good.
Went away.
It happens. He's just frozen. He's like,
I have a black. This is black on my end. The screen's totally blacked out.
Okay. Yeah, he's having some connection issues or something. Still can't hear you, but you look clearer now.
Yeah, I'm trying to download it on my laptop because this thing.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I hear you again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it on my laptop because this thing's being weird right now on my phone. I don't know why. So let me see if I can kind of finesse that real quic.
Have you all been working on some sessions? Working in some sessions with artists recently?
I actually been working on some songs on my own. Stuff that I've produced, and I keep experimenting with like sounds, just trying to find. I don't know what if I've released things as an artist, but I have like stuff that I do for myself. And I actually snuck one of my songs in when I went to Durango. What was that, 2 weeks ago we were there?
Yeah.
I put one of my I did this hip hop song for actually a music house, and they wanted like a retro 90s kind of vibe that kind of sounded like Onyx and Onyx and who's the other group? MOP and kind of that vibe. And I grew up around all that, so I know that real well, both on the production and the writing and stuff. And so I was like, so I did it playing around, and I did it with my, I did the vocals and everything, and it came out real dope. And I was like, man, I could probably do a project like this. And so I snuck one of those in there just to test it out at Durango.
Well, I was good.
Alexa, stop.
How'd it go?
It went over really, really dope. Like, and it made me think like, oh, I might need to do like a project of these, or do more of these, or weave this into something that could be like a sound. It's kind of like a I mean, that vibe is real. It's like totally like an alter ego, because like it's all loud, and I'm like real kind of like quiet spoken, but like I can get on the mic and freak out, So
good.
It's it was encouraging. I sometimes like hold my stuff back, but it was real cool to see their reaction to it.
All right, hold on one second. I think I might have figured it out.
Okay, cool. What have you been working on, Jean?
Hold on 1 second. I'm about to probably is gonna kick me out of this one, and I'm just gonna.
Oh, all good. I guess I'll talk. I worked with an artist named Sean Costanza the other day. Came into the studio. We wrote a song a few weeks ago. Actually, Mo and I wrote with him.
Oh,
a few weeks
nice.
back, and we had a session here.
There we go. All right, so
in the studio. It was actually the first time I tracked an acoustic guitar in here. Yeah, let me add you here. There we go.
All right, there we go. Much better.
Oh, hey, yeah, yeah, that's a better angle, anyways.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, so I was just in here the other day. We were recording an acoustic song, and actually, like, one of the tricks that I used was kind of fun. I grabbed, because I heard with this song, it's got kind of a timeless. It's a little Springsteen, a little country feeling, but it's got a real classic, timeless kind of vibe to it. And I thought that the drums to Into the Mystic would just work so well, like that groove would just work so well with it. And the issue was that the Van Morrison song, it's like 85 BPM, and our song was 74 BPM. And I'm like, if we slow it down that much, it might sound weird. But apparently Zach Brown Band covered that song like a few years back as part of a medley. And there was a karaoke version online where you could find like the drum stem to like a karaoke version of that. So what I did was I just had like the way my rig's set up, I can play anything and I can record it if it's just going through my computer audio. So I just I played the preview on the karaoke drums and got like a couple bars. I got like the intro fill and a couple of bars of it. And then I brought it into Ableton. And I only had to change it because it was 71 BPM. I only had to shift it like 3 BPM, and the groove like totally worked. And so we tracked like the basic, like really good basic guitar and vocal to that. And now shipped it off to my buddy Billy, who's a phenomenal drummer, and he's going to put some real drums on there, and we're going to kind of run with it from there.
That's dope, man.
Yeah. Finding like little tricks to get like the groove right that wanted for that track. Have
either of y'all experimented with any of these stem splitting AI apps?
Oh, yeah, it's like the something.io. There's some website that does that. I can't remember what it is.
I haven't.
There's one is lalal, LALAL.ai.
So what do you do with it? You just kind of put a song.
You can upload an MP3 or AIF or a wave, and it separates the vocal from the instrumental, and it could even break down like the bass and the drums, and it's actually pretty darn good. It's not perfect, but it's really good.
Like, take a matter of time till someone gets sued. Take any drum groove that you like and just bring it in, then replace the drums.
Exactly, though, but it's good for that. And it's there's actually another company, I can't think of the name. There's another company that will charge you to do it, but this site is open source. And it actually works pretty good. Yeah,
there'll be a lot of people stealing, and it's gonna be funny to see where that goes.
Yeah, because like you said, if you just want the drum groove, or say you want the chords, like even if like, and you know how in Ableton you can put an audio file and it'll convert the audio to MIDI. But if you could give it just the synth part without the drums, then that's going to be even more accurate. So if you want to know, like, what are those chords that Stevie Wonder uses and such and such, and you can just upload the piano part and get those chords and take the MIDI file and put it on the synth, and you got a whole little arrangement.
All right, now I got a really crazy question. Can you, because I know in Melodyne has the ability to detect chords.
Yeah.
Could you take a loop that you find, do whatever, like if you like a synth that's happening, a chord progression that's happening, use that LALAL.ai to isolate the chord progression, then bring it in, run Melodyne through it. Can you export MIDI from Melodyne?
I'm not sure about that, but I don't know if you can export the MIDI, but I do know you can. Once you get it in Melodyne, you can do some cool stuff like change the chord progression and move some notes around.
Oh, look at this audio to MIDI.
Melodyne,
looks like you can do it. Melodyne allows you to export audio notes as MIDI notes.
Oh, it's over then. Yeah. So then you can put in there.
So that's like totally a flow that you could use.
But that's a stock feature in Ableton.
Cool. Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
Yeah. So if you just isolated the strings and dropped it in Ableton, you can convert that to MIDI, and it'll convert those stems right there.
Oh shit.
You could sing. You can sing a part, and Ableton will convert that to MIDI.
Sick.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Pretty dope.
It's the wild wild west when it comes to producing now, bro.
Yeah.
It is game on, completely open. Like, I mean, that way. I mean, think about it. You kind of like, if you just take like 6 songs that you like, oh, I like the drums from this, like the synths from this, I like the guitar from that. This. Let's put it together and see what we got. You got a whole new record, and you haven't done anything.
No, you've just replaced a few sounds. You replaced the sounds, but you have to do that.
But that's, to me, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, it's like what people were worried about DJing back in the day, and being able to like do remixes and taking somebody's acapella and remixing it with an instrumental track. I think it's like, from a sound design and arrangement, like I think it's empowering. And some people will like take the easy way out, but other people like will see the creative possibilities and just come up with some totally new stuff.
No, I mean, listen, I'm all for it. Like, I was talking to John earlier today, and I mean, my thing is like, listen, everybody's got a way of doing something. However you get there is God bless you. Like, go for it. But I mean, it's just it's creating, to me, it just makes it sometimes harder to sift through the foolishness. You know what I mean? Because now you're gonna have like some kid who has no idea of anything that sounds good, slapping stuff together and putting a new song out every 12 hours. You know what I mean? And it's just gonna be like inundated. So it's kind of like it's like, you know what? It's cool, but like I tell people, man, you gotta just make good shit. Like that's what it comes down to.
It's still got to be good, and
it's gotta be good.
Yeah,
like, all the tools in the world, but if it ain't good, it ain't good. Is it?
That's true. No, it's very easy to take all these things and kind of mash them together, but if there's no artistry to it, then it's just gonna sound like a mishmash. Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Now I will,
and also you still need a top line on the top of it. Like that's the thing. You need a top line, and top lining you can't just like press a button and have it create a compelling top line.
No. Although there are some artists like Bauer and Flume and others who've made just production melodies and art form itself, like be able to make a song interesting just from dope samples and loops and making that sound like a cool melody, even though nobody's writing.
I do not have.
But I do think that I'm not on the NFT hype at all. I kind of think it's overhyped, but I do think this is the area where when this technology matures, it's perfect for this, because then that little 12-year-old who's just grabbing this, making whatever, you could monetize all that. And then it's a world where like, we could totally just create without abandon, without restriction, just whether you make up something, whether you grab something, as long as you can make something that's truly original and you can trace all the, writers and the authors back to their origin, that totally would free people to just do whatever came to mind, which would be pretty dope,
I think that, you definitely could do that now.
Could be cool. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to, until somebody does something that's actually practical and doesn't blow up in some kind of, and I'm saying blow up in like a bad way, like have the floor drop out of it financially, then it's like,
there's some kid right now.
It's cool. There's cool
stuff right now smacking down remixes off. Like he's on that site every day, and I'm sure he's mashing stuff together, smacking out remixes right now. Trust me, there's some kid in a basement or somewhere in a bedroom.
He can't do anything with it yet. Maybe SoundCloud, but even them, SoundCloud is, I mean, they're not as aggressive as YouTube is with the content ID, but they are. If they find it, they will stop it, and you still get the 3 strikes. So there's still like a lot of restrictions of what you can do with that. But in the future, if the rights holders were embedded into every stem, and no matter what you did, even if you sampled a little snippet, the rights went along with that. And no matter, you could loop it, you could freak it, you could do whatever, and it wouldn't get lost, and you wouldn't have to seek permissions because payments would happen automatically in the background whenever it got streamed or used or synced. And if it ever evolved to that way, that would be awesome.
Well, I think it will get there. But do you understand what that's doing for publishers? Like, I'm sure they are freaking out.
Because it cuts out the middleman completely.
Bro,
it cuts out the middleman entirely.
Automatic payments on songs.
Automatic payments.
It's just automatic.
Because your joint just streamed in like Botswana, and it's detected, and the payment automatically goes to your account. What do you need a third-party admin or any of that for?
Yeah, that's why I think there's going to be such resistance to any implementation of anything that's sometimes it's just brute force that forces the industry to do different things. Like, look what happened with Spotify. It's like they were legally fighting Spotify every step of the way, and then eventually Spotify won. So it could be a thing like that where eventually it's going to be like, well, can't fight it anymore.
I feel like the NFT is going to go that way. I feel like eventually it's going to get to the point where like they can't fight it, and they'll just figure out a way to then swoop in somehow and make some money. Like, well, how can we make money off this? But
they'll probably do the same thing that they did with Spotify. Like, basically they'll take instead of like it being radio playola or payola, it's just going to be like Spotify playlist payola. It's just going to be a different system. I think the same corporations will probably still own the main interests in everything because they have all the capital to be able to dump into anything.
It'll be like I said, like like when Spotify first came out. There was a couple people that did really well. We had a good 5-6 years where they couldn't really figure it out. The industry couldn't figure it out. And now they're like, oh, okay, now it's payola and it's kind of whatever. I think the NFTs will be the same thing. We'll have a good run of like maybe a couple years where they're trying to figure out how they can make money from it. And then once they do, they'll take it over. But as long as you're in that little area where they don't know what to do yet, you can probably make some good money from it.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So I don't. I think there's a lot of potential out there. I think I'm not the expert on this by any means, but I think the whole thing of communities and building communities around NFTs and your own currency and the whole digital community groups. I think there's so much there because then if you have a product or you have a voice or you're an influencer, you create if you have this ability to create this ecosystem around you, your products, your people.
I have a friend who's really into it. He's dove so far deep in the hole. Like, it's like, he knows so much more than he probably should about it. And like, it's one of those things. And he was explaining, he's like, it's great, but like for right now, NFTs don't benefit anyone that doesn't have a fan base or a draw at this point. I mean, like,
if you don't have a fan base, then there's nobody to take to whatever new platform you're putting stuff up onto.
If I was to put a song out tomorrow with an NFT, like, it's not gonna do anything for me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, cool, my mom bought it. So, awesome.
Yeah, you might get like a couple friends who pay like more ether or whatever the fuck.
But you know what I mean, like, because Tory Lanez already he was the first to put an album out on NFT, and he made $1 million in like a couple minutes, like 2 minutes. But he was the first one to do it, and they're just kind of saying how everything was instant and this, that, and other, and how it cuts out, and then then people can go on and sell it and make money and continue to make money. So I see it happening. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens if somebody like Drake or Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber does an NFT like album. Like, I know Chris Brown just
somebody with a crazy fan base. Yeah.
Chris Brown just dropped the NFT, but it was more of like an artwork piece. It wasn't like the music because he's still under contract. But this is Drake's last album. So if he decides to drop his next album, NFT, I mean, that could be.
Oh, this was his last album.
Yeah, this was his last contractual album.
I wonder. Okay, I don't know if I should say it on the show, but that gives me a whole new perspective on it.
But so I think, if he drops the next one off an NFT, like that could cripple a lot of people in the industry. Like that,
I mean, because all it takes is a couple of big name artists to
over,
do it, and then the dominoes might start to fall, and then they realize, oh wait, do we really need the labels at all?
Yeah, I mean, look at.
But I mean, most of them are still like under contract, though. It's like
it's a 360 thing though, because the only people who could leverage this now are the people who have the audiences, and they wouldn't have the audiences if they didn't build the system. So they can't really shit on the system because nobody else can come behind them and do the same thing. I mean, you can build an audience without. I mean, you can build it on TikTok, and people have millions of followers, and so there's other ways to build audiences now. But you still need the audience to really make it.
I think it's gonna be. I think if they let's say the top 5, like Beyonce did it, Drake did it, Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift. Those are to me, those are like the highest of heights right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say all 5 of them did it, right? Decided, you know what, we're done with the labels, we're going NFT route. I think what would happen you would then realize, like you said, like they would benefit from it the most, and then everyone else would see, oh, this is a way to do it, and there would be this like gross, ridiculous grab for fans. You know what I mean? Like, because like once you get like, oh, if I can just get to 1,000 fans or 2,000 like fans that really mess with me, I can then like do the NFT thing and make a living. The amount of like internet promotion and like the going live and the TikToks would be so inundated.
Yeah,
because everyone
so many. I'll tell you what, a lot of them would be about like this is how you create a wallet. This is how you transfer funds into a wallet.
Naked people would be on TikTok. You know how many naked people on TikTok? Because like the quickest way, like we all know, like sex sells, right?
Right.
So if you're a beautiful person, male or female, and you know that, hey, if I just take my shirt off and dance a little bit, whatever, and I can get that 10,000 followers and then drop an album or a song off an NFT or just a picture of myself NFT wise,
right?
It's like it would be wild west. Like it'd be crazy.
Or hire those people. That's something that I'm surprised hasn't popped off on TikTok yet, but probably coming. Like you don't see a lot of like spokespeople yet. Like if I were just a brand or if I was just an artist, I mean, back in the day, you might get somebody doing videos or a product. You need that attractive, well-spoken person to be like the face of.
Well, see, they don't. Well, what they do is they don't hire them anymore. So they just give them, they pay them per post or whatever, and then they just kind of like like this, do a TikTok with this juice or whatever, and they keep it moving. So they don't like really hire them per se. They're just like, here's some money, just do something with our product, like in your next video. And
because if it looks too forced, then it's just gonna not seem organic or real, and it's just like, oh, this is just a paid promotion. Yeah. So it's like it's a sleight of hand. So it's a trick.
Pretty much. It's like, oh, look over here.
But I think it's not going away. In fact, it's probably going to get bigger. It's going, I mean, it's all over there now, and there were ways people are doing it. It's the same thing with like, in the movies you go to, they may not stop and do a commercial, but in that scene they'll have a Pepsi on the counter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like they'll just find more creative ways to do it. So that it doesn't look, it's not offensive in any ways, but it's still like, taking advantage of people's audiences.
Yeah, for sure. Nothing goes backwards. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, nothing goes backwards. I was like, name me one time in American history where something went back to the way it
2016.
was.
The 80s?
It never.
The 80s are never going to be out of style. So,
but I mean, it's always got like a feel. But I'm talking about as far as like promotion. Like for instance, like I remember like, when my grandmother was young, and Elvis shaking his hips was like, oh my God, this man's on stage shaking his hips. That's that's crazy. That's so sexual. I bet parents would pray that shaking your hips is all that we had now. You know what I mean? Like it's never going back.
It always pushes forward. It does.
It's just gonna keep going forward. So it's like, listen, you gotta, and I tell people that with music too all the time. I'm like, listen, you might like that old school Johnny Cash country, and guess what? I love it too. There's a place for it, but guess what? It's never going back to
It's never
that.
coming back.
Like
No.
for all the people, and I mean, being here in
No.
Nashville, like it's funny, John. I'm sure you've seen it. Like you go out and there's a cover band playing, blah blah blah, and then they get to like a Johnny Cash song or something, and they make a retarded statement like, "This is real country. This is what we like to play." Blah 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 blah.
Oh yeah,
Not that pop country.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, guess what? You're gonna be right there on this stage 10 years from now because you refuse. It's never going back. Like it's never going back this way. There might be one or two artists that's like a niche that could still make a little draw or whatever because they had a name back then, but no one new is listening to that. It's not going back to that. So you might as well just get on the train and accept it for what it is and find your way of doing it. And that's kind of like what it is with what you're saying with the promotion. It's never gonna go back. They're just gonna keep promoting, even putting things wherever they go, pizzas, whatever, whatever it is. It's just never going back. So it's like just get on the train. Stop trying to fight uphill all the time. I try to tell people. Everyone's just upstream.
Kendra, I think it all just depends on like what you define as good, right?
Yeah. It's like whatever. It's like, cool. You mean like for me, like I personally. The state of like hip hop and rap right now, for me, I can't I'm not a fan of it, but guess what? I know it's never going back.
Right.
What I like, there might be one or two outlier artists that have a buzz every now and again, but I mean, you got to look at it even if you take the new artists, if you take J. Cole. J. Cole to me is like a throwback to what I kind of like, but he's found a way to do that with still going forward.
Just like Kendrick.
Like people sometimes just want to, people just don't want to go. They just don't want to do it. No, man, I want to go back to the old school hip hop. Well, you have fun with that because I'm trying to make money and keep my lights on.
Totally. Well, and sometimes Kendra, sometimes that whatever sound they're going for, it's like a diss track or something like that. Sometimes that's what it is, sometimes not all about the love, but I don't know. It's just with all the friction in this country, you never know where music's heading.
I agree with those. It's always pushing forward and things are always going to evolve. And I think I was actually when I stayed at the Airbnb in LA last week, the guy whose Airbnb it was, we were having this conversation and he was talking about he's going to one of those, I wish, musical is not, that's the time when they had real melodies and that's when they had real stuff. And, and I'm like, there's always good music, even in no matter however you feel about whatever, you can always find the gem. It's actually one of them. It's like one of my core beliefs in staying relevant and staying on top is I can't force it. I can't make myself like something that I don't like. I have to listen to what's out there, and I purposefully wade through it and find the things in there that I like. And I've never not been able to find music of any time period that didn't speak to me or that didn't, it was an artist I didn't respect in any genre. There's always, you can just look at, may not be the one who's selling the most records right now, but there's always somebody out there doing something that you can say, oh, that's pretty amazing. That's hella creative. Where did that come from? And vibe with that. You got to look for it sometimes.
Yeah, you definitely got to find through. And then I think a lot of times people have to for me, I always when I listen to music, whether it's a song I like or personally don't like, whatever, I always try to put myself in what space is this filling? You know what I mean? I might not like this song right now because I'm in my room cleaning my house. But if I was drunk in a club, this would be the best song ever made.
Exactly,
you know
right.
What I mean?
Music is so much about the context, right?
Exactly.
So I lived
in the context where is this made for? Even though it's on the radio right now, what is this song really made for? You know what I mean? Oh, this song is made for EDM fest. You know what I mean? It's what I mean? If I was there, this would be a great song.
Exactly.
But because I'm riding home from church on Sunday, I don't like it so much.
I went to college in DC, and Washington DC, the local music has always been since '60s has been go-go music, which is like
Yeah.
the homegrown funk, a lot of live instruments, conga based, a lot of percussion, very percussive. And for the longest time, it was always, I came from New York, so I was a hip hop head and could not understand why people from DC was so crazy about this music. As a drummer, I appreciated all the percussion, so I kind of vibe with it that way. But I just didn't get the passion about it.
Yeah, you're like, why are you
And
guys
then
crazy about
one day I went to a go-go and I went there live. And so the live musicians playing, and I saw them playing these 2-hour sets with no breaks, nonstop, going from one song to the next. And the audience is filled shoulder to shoulder with 16-year-old kids and 12-year-old kids who are like thugged out, but like dripping in sweat and dancing nonstop, almost in like the same spiritual trance you might see people getting the Holy Ghost in church. These
Yeah.
kids were like that in the go-go. And I got it. I had to be there to get that. Like once I saw it, I was like, I get it. I like, this is the most amazing thing ever. And like the connection is there, but I would have never seen it if I wasn't there to like experience. Like just hearing it over the radio was like, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah. There's so many times I went to see 21 Pilots live right before they really blew up. And that was, it's like a whole thing. Like people go around, it's like all these bands, you don't realize all these bands have these crazy followers that follow them everywhere. And it's like they have the moments in the songs where they go out into the crowd and get up on on like a ladder and do some crazy shit, like singing, and everybody's like, pumping their fist at the same time. And it's a whole experience, but you would never guess that the concert's like that from listening to the music at all.
Exactly.
So I think that's one of the things that, maybe is a little different now than, when we all were growing up, is like, I think people do go out to see music live a lot less. Right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so we're all like maybe one thing with it is we're all really selective about the things we go out to see live nowadays. And so maybe we see less of like the different types of music and the different types of shows. And we don't really understand the full context of a lot of the different kinds of music that are popular nowadays. I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking about myself, but
no, but I feel like, I mean, there's something to it, but I also feel like because there's so much money to be made online. I mean, let's be honest. You could be a TikTok kid, put a song out, never do a show, never do anything, and you can still bring home a couple $1 million. You know what I mean? There's so much money to be made online. Like I feel like people just aren't gigging as much as they used to. I mean, or if they are, like for instance, I was looking at a couple artists that I follow, and like they're going on tour, and like the closest they're getting is Georgia. You know what I mean? Like they're like, you know what I mean? Like they're not, before you would hit, our bands when I was growing up, they'd be on tour for a year and a half, hitting like every single state, it'd be like whatever. And now people are going out doing 20, 30 dates, and it's kind of like, catch me if you can, type thing. Like, oh, well, I'm 4 hours away. That's the closest we're getting. Not like before. I feel like people just aren't. I feel like the live show has lost its luster, which is sad because there's some people I love to watch live, but I can't listen to like their music. Like
doesn't have the same power, right? And meaning.
Yeah, it's like, oh, dude, that was such a great, like, live. They're so good, but then on the CD, you're like, oh, it's okay song, but no, you know what I mean, like, and I feel like a lot of people are just missing that live element, and I feel like that's a lot of what we're missing. We're missing a lot of live element now. Everything's so like online, so.
But it's just like what you said before, though, about things evolving and moving forward and not going back. Like music still has to be tied to an experience, but now some people are experiencing it online. Like there's some songs that blow up on TikTok and people have a legitimate emotional attachment to it because they've watched it and all their friends have watched it and it's become a meme, and that song has blown up and that song will forever be in their childhood, but they didn't experience it on in a club or at a party. They experienced it and it was still a community thing because your friends talked about it and you guys tweeted about it. It was like it's just a different experience, but it's still an experience.
Definitely is different. We are in a different time. I think, like, I mean, I was just like, no one has it all figured out. I think we're at this point in time, like, in the music industry, I think everyone's kind of grasping at straws, kind of like, let's kind of see just what works. You know, what I mean, I feel like everything's just still so new as far as like, how to really, capitalize off everything. So it's kind of like, all right, well, let's just kind of see how this works, type thing.
I
Which
agree.
I'm all for. I'm all for because,
Like you said at the
TikTok's
beginning, it's
become
the
the new
Wild
TV
West.
for me.
It's definitely the Wild West in a lot of ways,
Oh yeah, for sure.
which is cool though.
For sure. I just like that there's not that many gatekeepers anymore.
I love that there's not that many gatekeepers anymore.
Because that used to that's frustrating.
Mm.
When your hopes and dreams ride on like one person.
So question. Do you think that's better, or do you think the possibility of just getting lost in a sea of mediocre content and, some of the superstars that are still out there, getting lost in that do you think it's like more or less frustrating to the average person who's trying to come up and make a name for themselves?
I think it can be both, you know what I mean? Because before, like you said, like there was one guy and he'd listen to something and say, okay, this is good. You know what I mean? Like, this is good. We're green lighting this, right? Now that guy doesn't really exist, but like you said, everyone's free to dump whatever you want on the plate. And then you got to kind of taste everything and be like, okay, that's trash. Oh, that's good. That's trash. Da, 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 da. I think I tell people all the time, especially like songwriters and producers, I tell people consistency is the new talent. Because you can be amazing. You could be amazing. You could sing through a hoop. You could make the best beats. You could write the best songs. But guess what? If you put one out every 6 months or every year, you're not going to do nothing compared to the kid who's not nearly as talented as you, but he's putting one out every month or every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Consistency is the new talent. And so I feel like in a way, it can be frustrating if you feel like you're a really good artist, right? You feel like you're really good and you're making great music. And let's say that you are. But the difference between you and the other kid is he has the work ethic. And it's the same old narrative. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Right.
So it's like, I don't care how good you are anymore. Because there's a million good people. I mean, I can go on TikTok right now and find probably 30 people who are doing like remixes of something and singing, and it sounds even better than the artist or sounds amazing. That's great. But it's like, how consistent are you going to be? Because this now is a marathon. It's no longer a sprint.
It totally is.
It is now a marathon. So it's like, and I think it weeds out the people that really love music for music opposed to music for the fame. I mean, you might be amazing but you hate working at music and you just want to be famous. You know what I mean? Well, we're going to find that out real quick, because when your numbers aren't great 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, you've put out 6 songs and now you're less consistent. I don't want to do it. Oh, okay. Well, you didn't love it. And then the guy who's like I said, not nearly as talented as you, but he just really loves music. This is what he wants to do. And he just keeps putting them out. And we hate the first one. We hate the third one. We hate the fourth one. Fifth one's not so bad. And by the time we get to 25, we're like, oh, this kid's all right. I mean, like, okay. Or he just strikes a chord with us because he finds his little niche of what he wants to say or do. I feel like that is now the reward opposed to just being good.
Yeah, it's not a get rich quick vibe.
Yeah.
It's like it's a different type of approach to making music. And honestly, the people that really love to make music and do it for the love of creating are the people that are going to probably be the most likely to stick it out and really put in the time and effort and the grind, like the day in, day out grind of it. It's not easy. Yeah. It's not easy, even if by some miracle you're able to write a great song, produce it yourself, sing it yourself, market it, do all that stuff. That's a hell of a grind, right? And then all these moving parts, right? If you have any other person involved in any of those things that I just described. So it's a lot of work. And it's not people, I think a lot of people get in and they're just like, they're not quite signed up for that, and they don't realize what it takes to kind of have that mentality.
Yeah,
Totally
I mean,
true.
so I mean, with the gatekeepers, being the way that they were, I mean, like, I just feel like, yes, it's a little more frustrating because you have to like dig to find the stuff that you like or that really resonates with you because there is so much. But like I said, gives everyone an even playing field. And I don't have some guy who like decided he didn't like my record because I squeezed the toothpaste from the bottom. You know what I mean? And he squeezed it from the it's so subjective. You know what I mean? Like it could have been a great record, but he's having a bad day that day and didn't want to hear. He didn't want to hear a fast song. He wanted to hear a slow song. You know what I mean? Like so that
Yeah.
that's my problem with the gatekeepers because it's so temperamental. You know what I mean? There's some songs
I
that I'm like,
agree.
I've heard the first time and I just wasn't in the mood to hear it. And I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible. And then I listen to that song like at a different time. I'm like, that's a good song. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm just in a different.
I have a very recent experience of that exact same thing happening where in the private group that I help run, we evaluate songs every month for consideration for a playlist that we send out to some decision makers. And the first round, it was like for some reason, the song was not landing the way that it eventually did land to me until we were actually giving feedback live on the air to the people that submitted the music. And as the song was playing, I was like, oh, we have to, this isn't a song that we give feedback on. This is a song that we're going to be forwarding and we're going to be pitching. You know, but you don't realize it until it's like for whatever reason that morning I didn't hear it, and then in the context of everything, it's like all of a sudden everything was clicking, and I was like, "Whoa, I missed out there. I kind of missed it."
So, I mean, yeah, and so I mean, with the gatekeepers being gone, I mean, I feel like that gives space for that for the like for the public to tell, and like people always ask like, oh, and I feel like nowadays, like I tell artists all the time, like, stop holding on to things. Like the public will tell you whether it's good or not. I mean, just put it out there. And if the response is trash, guess what? That ain't it. That doesn't mean like you're trash. It just means that song ain't it. Put the next one out. Put the next one out. Put the next one out. And then the public will tell you, okay, we like when you do this. This is what we like from you. Like this is what we like. And then I mean you can see it. And then I like that analytical data is right there for you.
Yeah.
Like I
If you
put out a
release
rap
those
song.
25 or 50 songs, eventually you're going to get some data that helps you figure out how to steer
Yeah.
the ship.
You're like every time I rap, I get a little bit more. Every time I rap about women and do like a love song, that song that really registers. When I sing, the numbers go down. They don't love that so much. So now okay, I need to stop singing and start rapping about women. You know what I mean? Like that. There you go. And I feel like in that way, the public, the public is the new, is the new gatekeepers. They're gonna tell you what they want from you. You might think you want to do this, but that's not what we want from you.
I mean, I think I for one never want to go back to the true gatekeeper days where the one person in an office who's, who owes some people favors or has
exactly because too much of that happened.
Yeah, so I don't never want to go back to that. But I do think that even in this, I mean, there still are more minor gatekeepers. There's still people who choose who's on the playlist, and the public is not totally democratized because they still will be swayed by what shows up in the playlist or what shows up in the video game or what shows up on TV. Like there's still people choosing to push other people forward, but we just still have more of a shot.
Yeah, you have more of a shot
to put ourselves out there, to cut through. I mean, there's still a lot of noise to cut through. And so I'm a real proponent that now, we got rid of the influence of the big companies, and now everybody needs to be a small company. So everybody needs to think about, what's my marketing department? What's my branding department? What's my, how do I advertise? Like those things are still needed. We get control of them, and now that control means we have the responsibility. And so if nobody's vibing to you, it might not be because your music is trash. It might be you're not thinking about branding, and you're not thinking about marketing. You're not thinking about all these things that other people were paid to do, in the past. And now it's got to be a company of one doing all those things.
That's why I'm a big, huge fan of like collaboration now. You know what I mean? Like even if you look at like back in the day, I mean, you look at Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, like and all those guys, like the Motown days and everything like that. That was a group of guys, group of people, like working on music, writing songs, like doing stuff together. And I feel like I feel like nowadays the collaboration has kind of fallen to where everyone wants to be their own island. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I mix, I master, I produce, I sing, I write. It's like, okay, dude, cool. That's great. Like, but let's maybe get 3 of us in a room, maybe 4 of us in a room, and let's really like lock in, come up with some stuff. Eric might be great at marketing, you know what I mean? John might be great at doing something else. And together we can get that project out there, get those things out there, opposed to, like you said, one guy trying to handle it all, because it's not enough hours in the day.
It's
There
so
just
few
isn't.
hours.
And I feel like everyone's so worried about like making money right now that they don't want to, put a team together and be like, all right, we're a team. We write together as a team. We're pitching. We're doing this. We're all, 4 heads, 5 heads is better than one. This is, let's you get our moniker. I know a couple guys in LA, like, there's a group called the Justice League, the Wonder Friends, a whole bunch of those guys, and like they all just write together. It's like, there's 4 in that group, there's 5 in that group, and they just write together. They promote together. I mean, that way also you got 5 people promoting. So it's like, if one guy gets a cut, guess what? He's posting it on his social media, and then the other 4 are posting it. So now you're getting, a bigger cross. And it's like, dude, there's so much room for collaboration. I feel like people miss out so much on collaboration and how like key it really can be.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And it actually brings up a kind of an interesting thing that popped into my head. Let's do this to me. I kind of think about just how everybody is challenged, I feel like, by today's society to do it all and do it all well enough to be competitive. And I wonder if this whole, like, I can be the songwriter, I can be the singer, I can be the producer, the mixing engineer, and the person who puts the branding package together and distros it all by myself. I wonder if that's just another angle of toxic positivity. It's like, it's like, I'm empowered to do all of these things, but it's really not in my best interest to do all of these things myself.
Yeah, really. Yeah, no, I think you might be right because I mean, like you said, like I'm empowered to do, and I always tell people like I can do all those things, but will they all be the best that they possibly could be? Meaning, like I can write, I can produce, I can mix, I can master, I can do my own artwork, I can shoot my own music video if I want to, but will they all be the best that they could be if I, outsourced or delegated those things to people that actually do that? You know what I mean? Like, okay, so cool. Yeah, my album's out and that was a cool, like the artwork was nice, but was that the best artwork it could have been if I had just like taken time and get collabed with an actual, graphic designer artist who probably could have came up with something else? Because what people don't realize is it's the whole thing. There's times when I don't listen to songs or I look at things and I'm like, that artwork's cheesy. That song's probably trash. I ain't even heard the song. But because, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't, you went, you know what I mean? You look like you drew with a crayon. Like, cool. Like, I don't want that.
Super looks like some cheesy Canva template or something.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, doing that when you have to do it because no one wants to help you.
Yeah.
But if you have people around you and you choose to still, hoard it all, like I feel like that is, like you said, toxic positivity, because it's like, you know what I mean? Like if even when I'm doing tracks, like even if I finish a track, but I know like I got a guitar part on there, and I know John's a much better guitar player than me. And I know Eric, his drums lines better than me. Why not send it off to them? Let him put the drum line down because I know that's what he's amazing at. Let you play the guitar because that's what you're good at. And now the song's that much better than it could have been. It was good before, and now it's great. And I think a lot of people miss out on that because they're trying to be like, look at me. Look what I did. I mixed, I mastered, I wrote, I played every instrument. I did every harmony and blah, 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 blah. Cool. But was it as good as it could be? Even if it's good, could it have been better if you had just let a little bit go?
And it just becomes like an ego pursuit. I feel like for some people, I can't say. I mean, I enjoy doing a lot of things in my productions, and I feel like I can get something across the finish line that works. But at the same time, it's like I also don't have a big head about like involving other people and sharing credit and all that stuff. And I think that's one angle to this all, perhaps that again revolves almost into toxic positivity, where it's like I'm empowered to do all these things in part because I don't want to share the credit with somebody else. And I don't want to give any of I'm not saying everybody who does everything themselves has that mentality. I do think there's a flavor to that in a lot of cases. It's like, I want to be able to own everything, and I want to be the person who it's like, this is me, all me. And isn't it so great? Like everybody.
I think there's a flavor. I think there's a flavor of that. And then I think also like the flip side of that is when money's involved. You know what I mean?
I don't
like,
want to share the money, right?
That's you know what I mean? Like people are like, oh man, I'm getting so and so for a track, right? Say I'm getting $1,500 for a track, right? Someone comes to me, hires me, it's $1,500, and then it's like, I know John could play that guitar part better, but then I'm gonna have to pay him. I mean, and now that 1,500 is 1,100 or whatever else. You know what I mean? Opposed to. And I think that's really what it stems from more.
Interesting.
I have a couple. I mean, my take is a little different, I think, because like the situation you just described, Jean, to me, that's not an ego decision. That's a business decision, right? I think take it outside of music. I think if you were a graphic artist and that was your business and you were building a graphic design company and the company was hiring you and said, hey, I'm going to give you $5,000 to handle our social media graphics for the next 3 months, you have a business decision. Do I do all of these social media graphics myself, or do I subcontract some of this on Upwork so I can do more? Maybe I can take on another client. I think that's a business decision.
I look at and where I would like rebuttal you, just playing devil's advocate, is this. It is a business decision because you know your financial state of being and you know what you need. But I would look at it this way. Say I do it, right? Say I do the song and I keep the $1,500. And the client's happy with the song. And they're like, oh, cool, whatever, boom, boom. But I don't really hear anything else from them. You know what I mean? Kind of like a one-off. But now let's say I decided to, let's say I didn't do that. Let's say this time I decided to outsource because there's a guitar part. So I hired John, right? John killed it. Put that guitar part down. Now the track is that much better. I send it to the client and the client's like, holy shit, that's above and beyond of what I thought. So now they're telling their friends and you're getting more business in the long run because they're more excited and happy.
That's still a business. That's still a business decision. I didn't say it has to go one way or the other, but going through that thought process, what's the best decision to grow this business? Is it better? Will spending this money give me a better satisfied customer and then give me repeat business, thus making it, the smarter move? Or will I do just as good on my own and still keep like that? It's not, I don't think the answer is always the same. I think
for sure.
Making that call is a business decision. I do think I'm a big fan of collaborating. I mean, I have like an artistic view of this whole conversation and I have a business view. I think on the artistic side, I collaborate a lot, but there are also some things artistically I want to do as the artist. The artist in me wants to accomplish it. I may want to paint a whole picture by myself because I've got a vision for it and I want to see that vision executed. It may not always be the best business decision to do it all myself, but it might be my artistic decision. But outside of music, I think in other industries, they don't necessarily approach this from a view of collaboration. I think it's more business driven. Like if you look on the tech side, if the next Steve Jobs comes along and he has this idea, or he meets a Wozniak and they have this idea to create like the next level supercomputer, they're not necessarily putting a team together to collaborate on their idea. they're going to find funding so that they can hire the people they need to hire to make their vision a reality. I just think in music, we don't necessarily have the resources to build those type of businesses, to say, let me find the funding, let me hire the musicians, let me hire the additional producers, let me build the studio. So we're relegated to collaborating as opposed to thinking hire, contract, subcontract, and executive produce. It's because sometimes things need someone to push a vision through, because I have a vision for this, but because I have the vision, I don't have to be the person executing on. We just sometimes end up being the person executing because we don't have the resources to build a business around our vision.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, in the beginning, like you said, like, you gotta do what you gotta do for sure. Like, I mean, if it's just you and no one wants to help you, and you know what I mean, then of course you got to be the cameraman. You got to do all that. You know what I mean? Or if you have a very limited budget, then guess what? If you want a music video done, you're shooting your damn self. Like, I mean, like that's what's happening. I mean, that's it. No, but I would just say, like, I don't know, man. Like, I always come from a spot of like, I'm cool with collaboration. Like if either of you guys called me and was like, "Hey, Jean, man, I got this track, man. I really like how you do drums, like whatever, blah blah blah." Like for me, my thing is like, cool, I'd do it, and wouldn't even and I wouldn't charge you, because for me it's collaboration, and it's like you're coming to me because you know I have a certain skill and we have a certain rapport. Yeah, Joe Blow off the street can't just come to me. Of course, I don't know you. But I mean, I feel like amongst musicians that know each other, or pretty, like I feel like that should be more of a collaborative deal. Like, hey, I'll do the. You remember when I did this drum pattern for you? Well, I know that you do this. Could you hook me up? And that way, like,
Right.
no one's out of pocket. We're not losing money. Because like you said, like maybe you're charging $600 for the track and your car payment's due. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm not trying to. You know what I mean? Like, let me just knock this out real quick, and then you'll get me on the back end for something else. Because to be honest, that little $200 I would have made probably is not going to be as significant as me being able to reach out to you for something that I really need.
Right.
Like, oh man, Eric plays the piano amazing. There's this artist that wants a piano-driven track. I don't play the piano that well or well enough, but now that I did a drum pattern for you and we're cool, collab, I'm like, hey man, can you do this for me? And you're like, oh yeah, sure, boom, boom. And now it's great.
Right.
And now when she comes back, then that's the time where you can be like, well, yeah, that track I did, I actually brought in one of my boys. If you really like that, we can do it again. But he definitely needs to be paid a little bit on that. You know what I mean? So maybe it goes up. Maybe the price goes up. And now we're both working. And
That's
now we're
true.
both working. And that's kind of like what I feel like a lot of the industry is like, the musicians industry is missing. When you do have a tight group, you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to lean on your group, you know what I mean? And they should be able to lean on you.
Yeah.
Not saying, like you said, like, yeah, not just where some random guy can just text me and be like, hey man, I need a drum pattern. Well, I don't know you. You know what I mean?
We were talking about this earlier, that like, just people randomly like being thrown your way, and you're just like, wait, this is not.
Yeah.
This doesn't work. You slide me like $200 for like trying to do a track for you. It's like that's not gonna fly.
Yeah, I don't know you.
No rapport with you. I don't know who you are. Like, it's just there's no. And you heard that I just do free work basically. It's like,
yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's a bit different. Like, for instance, like I mean, we all know Mo. Like, I work with Mo all the time. Like, I get upset when Mo tries to pay me for things, especially if it's like one-off things. I'm like, dude, like when she went to Durango, something was wrong with her reel, so she called me and she's like, hey, I don't know what's wrong with the reel. Like, there's like a chop in it. Is there any way you can, like, put it together so it's all smooth and this, that, and other, and get the timing down? Yeah, sure. Knocked it out, sent it right back to her. She tried to send me like $50, $75 for it. I'm like, no, get out of here. I sent it right back because it's like, I know you well enough to know, I mean, like, we have a rapport, and I'd rather do this for you, whatever, because then there was a time later where I had an artist that was, vocally challenged, let's just say that, and I was able to call Mo, and she came through and, vocally helped produce that record. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And that to me was way more important than like if I had taken the money and been like, I did that and got,
It's
made
worth way more than $50 too.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's why I feel like, as far as what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying about business decisions for sure. But I'm saying when you have a network and you guys just choose not to lean on each other and everyone wants to be that guy, I feel like you're doing that. I feel like that's where the toxic positivity comes in to be like, look at me, look at me. It's like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, you have people you could have called, maybe made it better and done something better for us in the long run. You know what I mean? But
I like the look at me voice. Should sample that. Look at me.
I like the okay, cool, yeah, with the eye drop, like whatever.
Oh man. Hey, I actually had a question from like earlier. So we were talking about like all these folks that are trying to get heard. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to, all the people that are trying to make music and trying to get a hit and find their way with things. I had a question, like for the people who, what do you think about like folks? Because I think we've all heard about one hit wonders and obviously, and we've also had like favorite bands of ours that make really amazing records. And then after they have that success, they just like go do whatever. And then they actually have the gall to kind of complain about why they didn't have as much success with that strategy. When you were talking about, oh, I find out when I sing about this type of lyric and I use this kind of beat, I get this result, versus like they change up the style entirely and then are surprised by the result. And I could just say like there's so many times in my like listening career as a music fan where I hated a decision that an artist took on like on like the next record or the next album, and then frustrated that they didn't get as much commercial success. Well, it's like, well, you totally abandoned what worked and just decided you were going to do whatever the F you wanted,
Well, listen, I'm a firm believer, and I tell people all this time. And like, so I was part of it, like the whole like Britney thing when she started like to change everything else. And I just remember hearing in meetings, just because you're ready to change doesn't mean the people that support you are ready to change. And so you have to like understand that. Like, yeah, you might want to, your first album might have been all like hip hop, but now you're like totally into grunge rock. That's okay. And we can get there. But guess what? Everybody else is not there. That's not what we came to you for. I mean, just like, I'm not going to say it, but someone recently put out an album and the whole world is like, what the F is this? Because
why? What's
musically,
why?
You were somewhere else, but this is not what we wanted from you. This is not why we like you. And so now it comes into a place where it's like, as a fan of that person, you're kind of resentful because you're like, you're forcing me to have to like this if I want to keep being a fan of you. You're forcing me to listen to this and find something that I like about it, rather than, you know what I mean? Like, if I go to a restaurant and order a steak and you bring me a chicken salad, I'm able to send it back. I don't have to sit there and be like, oh, well, at least there's chicken. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and chances are, if you order a chicken sandwich, it's like the Hawaiian chicken sandwich. It's this exotic thing. It's like, but it's still a chicken sandwich. Like, that when you order a chicken sandwich, it's gonna always be a chicken sandwich at the end of the day. Versus like you order that and you get like a veal cut or something like that on a bun or whatever. It's gonna be a totally different.
Yeah, it's like you can't just switch up on people. If you want to change, you have to you have to gradually grow. And I think the artist that has done it best is Ariana Grande. Because she came out super, super, super Disney, super bubblegummy. And now she's at a point where if you listen to her music, she's singing about, sexual content, she's cussing, she's doing a whole bunch of stuff, but she never lost their fan base.
Nope.
Her sales never went down because she didn't just go from like singing, Baby Shark to positions. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it didn't happen overnight. People were able to gradually grow with her. You know what I mean? Like, she might have on the next album slipped in maybe a little bit more serious content, maybe one cuss word. Maybe she said the A word. She didn't say the F word, but she said the A word.
Mm-hmm.
So then by the third album, she's on the S word. You're like, oh, it's not so bad. What if she said the A word? And so by the time she gets all the way to like the FU, you've grown with her. So you've expected it. It's not like, who is this person?
Where is
It's
this
a
coming from?
degenerate spiral. It's a gradual spiral, though.
Yeah. And I feel like so as a band, you can't be mad if you pull the music rug from under us and you don't have the same success. Well, we weren't ready for that. We didn't ask you for that. Like I didn't ask you for that. Like I didn't ask you to go country. Like you were like 100% like R&B, and now like you're like 100% country. I didn't ask for that.
Right.
Like I wanted the second album to be more like what I just fell in love with on the first album. So I feel like if an artist ever came to me and he was kind of mad about that, I'd be like, well, no one asked you to do that. So you're kind of taking a risk on your own. Like hopefully it works out. I mean, Pink is the only other person I know that completely flipped the script on a person and it worked. Pink is the only one.
Totally flipped.
Because
Yeah.
she was like super R&B and everything else. And I still love her to death. She's a great friend of mine. But then the second album was like, whoa.
But she did it. Like, I think she did it well in that she told the story around it. Like that first single, she did bring her fans with her, but she like explained why. Tell you, I only was doing that because the label wanted me to do that. That really wasn't me. Can I reintroduce you to me? This is me. And it was like, oh, cool, okay, I'm with you. You didn't just come out with the rock and But I also
flip.
Yeah, it was a big flip. But I loved it. I loved it.
But also, I mean, I think a lot of the time too, John. This is the funny thing. A lot of the times they change the music on you, and it's not nearly as good as the first music. So it's like,
no, yeah. So it's they already shot their shot because they had like 10 years with the songwriting, and it went into that first album for whatever reason. And I'm, when I'm saying that, I'm mostly talking about like rock bands, but like nowadays, the songwriting situation's a little different. It's like there's a never ending stream if you're open to it of like possibilities that you can always use to upgrade whatever it is that you're going to release.
Yeah.
But like there used to be a situation where it's like, I guess creatively and the spirit of whatever it is you initially put together, that energy, there's like, you've kind of like released it. And then all of a sudden there's like a void. There's like the success void that kind of kicks in, I think. I mean, I'm theorizing about it. And there's a success void that kicks in, and then it's like, well, then what? But then it's like, oh, the guitar player wrote this song, when they were sitting and having coffee, and now it has to be on the album, but it's not very good, or stuff like that. But I'm sure there's different flavors for every genre of music.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. It's like, I think it's very hard. I think it's very hard. You mean like that's why there are so few Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryants, and everyone else, because it's very hard once you reach success to have that same energy, that same focus, that same hunger to do the same thing again. You're not doing anything different. You're doing the same exact thing you just did, but you're trying to do it again. So as a band, like when we're broke and we're all like driving in that musty like van and doing those shows for 10 people, yeah, dude, we're writing songs every day because we want to change our circumstance, right?
Yeah,
that's really what we're doing it for. We want to change our circumstance. We want to do the big shit, the big stages. We want to get out of this van, have a tour bus. Like we're tired of playing in the bars where no one's paying attention and everyone's drunk. We're trying to change our circumstance. So once you get there, it's really hard to be like, man, let me get out this $10,000 bed with this 2,000 thread count and go to the studio. You know what I mean? Like it's really, you mean like let me jump in my Ferrari and drive to the studio. You're like, oh, it's so easy to be like
11 o'clock. Oh.
It's so easy to be like, nah, I'm good, bro. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Like, and that's why it's like, oh, the guitar player wrote a song. Cool, man. I got a date at like 10 o'clock with this supermodel. I'm not trying to be here all night.
Just throw it down, bro. I'm not even gonna be here.
Go ahead and use his, bro. You know what I mean? And I've seen it happen. I've seen groups just totally like groups of 4, and like 2 people show up to the studio that day.
They just
Like, where
nail
the
it.
other
The other
2?
two just
They're
nail it
like,
in. They're just like, you're good. You're
yeah,
good.
they're like, I don't know where the other 2 are. Like, okay, well, he's supposed to be the lead of the song. You've only sang background the whole time. Well, you're the one here. We still got a deadline, so you're singing the lead. And then the song comes out, and they're like, I ain't that good. Well, he's not supposed to be singing that part anyways. The guy didn't show up, so I think it's just really, and I think it's just really hard, like to really, like I said, there's something to be said for those guys that like that constantly grind and do it. Like, you know, those bands that you know had hit after hit after hit, you know, Vane and album after album, and so like those are like guys that love it. I mean, those
Yeah.
they loved music, had nothing to do with anything else.
And they see the challenge every time, and they see it as a very
to live.
real challenge that they kind of have to start from zero and build back up in a way.
for
From
sure.
like creatively, they have to like create something that is special again.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have our icons, our Janet Jacksons, our Madonnas, our Michael Jacksons, and stuff like that. Because, like you said, as soon as that album was over, they're thinking, how can I beat that last album? Not like, oh man, we're good, bro. Like, I mean, like, I'm gonna go party. I'll holler at you guys later. You know, this is what I wanted. But I feel like that shows, especially in today's music. I mean, how many artists have we seen come and go in the last 6 months to a year? Whether you were a TikTok artist or not.
Revolving door, yeah.
And you're just like, well, what happened to that?
There's so many people. I mean, anybody's an artist now. Anybody's a producer. Anybody is a creator now, like a content creator, which can involve music, even if they're not musicians. So, you know,
it's because they don't sell it. They love what comes from it.
Yeah.
They love the stuff that comes from it. Like, oh, cool, man. If I do this and if it hits the right way or it goes viral, you know, I can make some bucks real quick and, you know, be famous and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool.
6 months later, it's like, oh, I spent like $3,000 on this rig to stream, and now, you know, I still haven't hit, you know, I'm still not monetizing on any of the platforms.
Yeah, it's because you stream once a week. Like, it's like, bro, you're not gonna make it, man. You got to be in consistency. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. It's just, like I said, I'm a firm believer consistency is the new talent, bro. Like, it really is. Like, that is the new wave. Because it's at the point where if you can just, you know, stand it out longer than the next guy, you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
It's just an amazing takeaway to take from this conversation, I think, for the people that have tuned in tonight. We really appreciate you, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, you know, I think it makes me want to ask you both, what are the things that keep you in the game? What are the things that really like drive you? Is it just sheer love of music? Is it because you want to, there's something you want to do in the world to help people? Like what are your motivations for staying in when it gets tough?
You go first, Eric.
Yeah, I think, well, there's a lot. One, I don't think I've accomplished what I set out to accomplish yet. And so, and I guess that, I mean, you know, you could take a Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan, and even if they win a championship, that may not have been their original goal. Like, you know, their goal might have been to be the best in the world, which means I got to keep working because, you know, I got a Grammy, but I'm not the best in the world yet, you know? So, but what kept Michael going after he did Thriller, where it was probably, I mean, you could see like take Michael after the Jacksons. It's like, okay, I'm great, but I haven't done my vision. I haven't got my thing, so I'm still hungry. And then you get Off the Wall. It's like, oh, they really like that. They really like me. I'm still not the best in the world, but I did me, and people respond to it. But then you take Thriller, and it's like, oh, I'm the best in the world now.
Yeah, it's like, where do I go from here?
Right. You know what I mean? And he kept going though. He still had aspirations. Like, well, you know, that's a level of hunger that's just like insane or amazing. And I you know, for me, I do try to remember, like, I originally set out to do music for like more spiritual reasons. Like, I just believe that media and music and lyrics were the real way to like impact people and impact the world. And like setting out to do that is kind of set me on this long journey that's involved like sync and all this stuff. And so I still like feel like I'm still trying to make my way towards having this impact, writing the song that actually changes people and being connected to artists that actually have the influence to actually sing words that I write that actually change. Like I'm still on the path to get there, and it's like been this circuitous, long winding road path. And sometimes I look and I'm like, am I even on path to that anymore? Like I've just been following this journey. But that's still what keeps me at it, because I'm still trying to make my way to that point.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say for me, man, one, like Eric was saying, I haven't done everything that I've set out to do at this point in time. So I still have, rings and levels that I want to that I want to climb. For one, two, just the fact that man, I love helping people, but I really love helping people get out of their own way, which is way different. I mean, like a lot of times, like I was talking to you earlier, John, like a lot of times as artists and everything else, they'll get in their own way because like you said, like they'll like a sound or a song and it's like, but that's not it. It's not gonna work. It's not no. And being able to like show them like, listen, if you're trying to get to point Z, this is how you get there. This is how you get there. You take a little bit of this, but you're gonna need a lot more of this. And being able to help that and show people that. And I just love creating, bro. I love creating music, man. Like I just love creating music and evoking emotions. And I'm, one of my goals is to have like just that song. Like for instance, like especially when it comes to in sync, like when The Weeknd put out "Earned It" for 50 Shades of Grey. Like even though that initially wasn't like the song for the movie, like it was, they used it in the movie. But when you hear that song, like that, you think the movie. When you think the movie, you hear that song. Like that to me was like as a sync is a perfect marriage. Like Tom Cruise, Risky Business, dancing in his little underwear and everything else. That song playing, everything else. It's like old time rock and roll. Like those are like that. When it comes to like sync, like those are the moments I'm waiting for, where it's not just it's cool to place music and have it on shows and have it, in the background, but to have that iconic moment to where that song is synonymous with that movie and that movie is synonymous with that song, that's what I'm shooting for. Like that, those are the things that I'm shooting for.
History.
I love that.
Shooting for history. I love both your answers. Your answers are great. And there are a lot of the things that you both talked about that I feel are certainly like reasons that I have. And it's also, I feel like for me, it's just like, I feel like I'm always just from a DNA level up. I've always been driven to make music. And I feel like it's my purpose on this planet to make music and tell the stories that I have to tell. And I feel like those things have meaning and hopefully they contribute to the world. And hopefully I connect with lots of people. I've had the fortune to connect with a lot of people through film and television licensing with the stuff that I've sung. But I still haven't had that hit. I still haven't had that. I don't have that Grammy or that platinum record on the wall. Like, so I feel like there's still some goals and some milestones that I'd like to knock out too. And it's, I think the motivation with this is just, it's a combination of your purpose, maybe things that haven't happened yet. And what was the other one? I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Helping people.
Yeah. Just helping people. I really, and I feel like that's a huge part of it too, because music, there is a healing connection that can happen through music. I think that I don't have time to tell the story. It's a little bit of a long story, but just I've had direct experiences where I thought that what I was making at the time was not landing with anybody, and then ended up finding out that like it literally saved somebody's life at one point.
Yeah, man, you never know.
That kind of stuff. I mean, you don't read about. You read about that all the time. Like this Britney Spears, this artist saved my life. I was like on the verge of suicide or whatever, and I listened to her songs and I found a glimmer of hope. It's like I found a common human connection there, and that's the power of music. It can motivate you. It can get you like, to lose 20 pounds because you're listening to the music that motivates you to do the shitty thing, get on the bike and actually like ride the bike, So it can change your life in that way too. It doesn't have to be some super mopey Elliott Smith kind of thing either, some type of depressing thing. It's like,
no, for sure.
Really true. I love that. I found it really interesting. I think what was so eye-opening for me, when we started Control Camp on Clubhouse, this was during the pandemic, and just interviewing different people. Some of my first experience talking to people who accomplish things that I like, that are my not things I haven't done yet. Don't have the Grammy, don't have platinum album, but then chatting to some of those people with the platinum albums and even the Grammys, and they're like, oh man, I would love to have my stuff on TV. And just to see that perspective that no matter where everybody is, there's still goals for them, and there's still something you may have accomplished that to them is just like, wow, how do I do that? And then something they've accomplished, you're like, man, I wish I would have. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy how perspective can help drive your goals and
for sure,
your sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like, especially with everyone being so goal oriented in this, I think a lot of times we forget to sit back and appreciate our accomplishments to this point. You know what I mean? I'm not where I was. I'm not where I want to be. Not with my finished product, but I'm not where I was. 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I think that's good as well to kind of do that in that way. Kind of puts it in perspective.
Totally true.
This has been great. We've talked about so many things tonight, guys. What a cool conversation. We'll continue it next week or the week after, where we're still figuring this thing out, right?
Yep.
Still figuring it out. We don't know exactly what Beats and Bourbon is ultimately going to be, but you can follow us. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, and we're on Facebook. And you can find all the information about Beats and Bourbon at beatsandbourbon.club. Jean, thank you for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Great, man.
It should be noted that I don't think anybody had bourbon tonight, which is
I know. Yeah, I had
mine
Jack
was like
Daniels light something.
Mine was like a moonshine pre.
Oh, you had moonshine. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually just chilling tonight, so it was all good.
All good. Well, we'll resume the drinking and resume the conversation next week. All right.
All right.
Catch you later, everybody.
Y'all have a good one.
All right.